India will have the world's fourth largest economy by 2025. IMF predicts India will surpass traditional economic superpower Japan within the next year. India's GDP will reach 4.34 trillion ahead of Japan's 4.31 trillion, putting New Delhi within touching distance of Germany in third with $4.7 trillion and only behind China and the United States of America. But please don't tell this to Joe Biden. US President last week went on a rant against Quad allies India and Japan, blaming xenophobia for their alleged slow economic growth alongside China and Russia. Now, questioning the world's fastest growing large economy, India, is strange. Maybe it was for brownie points during US and Indian election season, but as expected, it drew a sharp response from New Delhi. India's External Affairs Minister Jaishankar reminded Biden to check the facts. After all, Indian economy grew at 7.8% last year, while US economy grew at 2.5%. So which economy is closer to stagnating? Secondly, Jaishankar also highlighted how India has opened its doors for minorities facing trouble in its neighborhood. At a time when Biden has been accused of fueling the worst border migrant crisis in American history. Joe Biden's ill-informed rant aside, news of India's economic rise is making waves across the world. None more so than Japan, where reports highlighted issues of a weakening yen, but also praised India's robust economic growth driven by a huge domestic market. In fact, some reports in Japan are confident India can soon compete with and even beat China. Only if India stays on its current path, as global investors hesitate betting on China, given the West's undeclared trade war against Beijing. Let's be clear, India's economic rise is not because of Washington or Beijing's trade policies. New Delhi has risen despite US economic supremacy and constant threats from China to India's economy and national security. Today, India stands as the leader of the global south. India is not booming alone, it is also making Asia and the ASEAN region shine. IMF says Asian region led by India will contribute to 60% of global economic growth this year. Director for IMF's Asia Pacific Department says, I quote, "In China and India, we expect investment to contribute disproportionately to growth, much of it public, especially in India." On the other hand, experts predict India will continue its surge and become the third largest global economy by 2027 and a 10 trillion economy by 2030, making it, quote, impossible for large global investors to ignore the country. So within 70 years of independence from a millennia of foreign rule by invaders or colonialists, India is set to become the world's third biggest economy. For much of history till about 1000 AD, India and China were the world's largest economies, contributing to 50% of global GDP. New Bharat is on its way towards reclaiming that crown. However, there are some countries pulling down regional growth, led by Pakistan, which faces an uncertain economic outlook. Opposition leaders have been accusing Islamabad of begging for aid in front of friends and the IMF. But the big question is, just how is Pakistan continuing to arm its military with stealth fighter jets and AIP submarines when it is among the most indebted nations? It is quite obvious Pakistan is redirecting aid money towards military purposes. And IMF must be questioned, just how long will it continue to bail out such a military state like Pakistan? Also, this blind support for a rogue nation like Pakistan will hurt China in the long run. Some reports predict India will overtake China to lead global growth by 2028, not in terms of GDP size, but in terms of value of contribution to global manufacturing and services. New Delhi also realizes its potential and an opportunity to challenge China as the world's factory. Path-breaking projects like the IMEC or India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor have been inaugurated, connecting manufacturing in India to lucrative markets in Europe and in the Americas. The COVID pandemic showed the world cannot rely on the Chinese supply chain. The Indian IMEC could help avoid such a humanitarian catastrophe in the future. Global agencies unanimously agree that there is no stopping India. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley and Moody's have all upgraded their economic outlook for India. They all project that India will be the fastest growing economy among even the developed and rich G20 nations. The world is betting on India's rise as it continues to beat growth projections year after year. Some of the world's largest tech titans, including Apple and Foxconn, are massively shifting their manufacturing operations to India. While there are others like Tesla chief Elon Musk, who have vowed to invest big in India once he can halt the slide in Tesla EV sales in China and the United States of America. But like all growth stories, India's rise too faces real and dangerous challenges. The biggest challenge is unemployment, which rose to 8% in February 2024 compared to 6.8% at the start of this year. India has the largest human capital in the world, having overtaken China as the world's most populated country. Having such a large workforce is definitely an advantage, but challenges remain in creating jobs in equally large numbers. Such challenges and hiccups will remain. And like always, India will find a way. You can call it foresight or jugaad or simply a desire to succeed. The bottom line is, by the end of this century, India has the potential to emerge as the world's largest economic superpower. Have your say by when can India become the world's largest economy? Leave a comment below and remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons.